Today, we are all Abe Simpson because we are old men yelling at clouds.
Oh, it's laughing now!
We are talking about digital tools as they're used in tabletop role-playing games. If you are interested in this subject or finding out more about Tales from Elsewhere, the game we're developing, please do like and subscribe. It really helps get the word out for this channel. Please do comment. I am very active in the comments, as many of you know, so please send feedback, discussion points. Let's chat more about tabletop game development. Without further ado, let us talk about the digital age and the tabletop. The first thing I want to talk about very briefly before we dig into my thoughts on the digital age and my preference toward the analog is how digital tools have helped those who need assistance playing tabletop role-playing games. And I want to mention this specifically because no matter what I'm about to say in the rest of this video, understand there's an underlying exception for the inclusivity functionality of digital tools. Those who are neurodivergent, those who have memory issues, the list goes on. If you are using a digital tool that helps you enjoy the hobby, what I'm about to say does not apply. I think that is the most wonderful aspect of these digital tools, and it is worth highlighting here. So with that out of the way, I'm going to now rant like an absolute boomer about pen and paper versus digital tools. With the recent controversies around D&D Beyond and the launch of D&D 5.5, as I'd like to call it, this seemed like a great time to cover this subject because digital products don't really feel like things that you own sometimes, and the recent controversy really highlights that. I won't dig into that controversy here because there's plenty of excellent videos covering the ins and outs of it, Wizards of the Coast's position, their rollback on some of those subjects, but it highlighted the fact that when what your product is simply code on somebody else's server, they have the ability to take that away, to change it, and that impermanence is very worrisome. Especially when tabletop role-playing games span decades and lifetimes at this point. And when you don't own it and they can change it, it's a different relationship between you and the product. When you own a physical product, it's yours forever, really. No one can patch it or take it away, and they act as a time capsule to who you were and what the game was when it came out. So we're going to take a trip down memory lane. It is going to date me significantly, so bear with me. The year is late 2000. I'm a freshman in high school. And 3rd edition Dungeons & Dragons is released. My first Dungeons & Dragons book, my first tabletop role-playing game book. And it is a wonderful time capsule. This book is all torn up by now. I've just used it for so many hours, playing at kitchen tables at my friend's house, fumbling my way through the rules. But I have it here exactly as it was 24 years ago. A few years pass. I'm now a junior in high school, and 3.5 edition is released. I start talking to a cute girl in one of my classes, who ends up becoming my wife. And I have here this updated version where they iterated on 3rd edition, and it's full of interesting design divergences, changes like skill synergies, and all sorts of cool stuff. And I have it right here exactly as it was in 2003. Some more time passes and we get to the ever controversial Dungeons & Dragons 4th edition. I'm a senior in college, I think, at this point, and I picked this up and it was so different than everything that came before it, and it was controversial at the time. It's still controversial now, but I think people have grown to really appreciate this edition. It spawned Pathfinder, really. This divergence made Pathfinder go the other direction. Games like Lancer have really taken inspiration from this game. And I have it here exactly as it was at release. All flaws and everything. And it's super cool and a lot to learn from about design. Several years pass and I proposed to my girlfriend to get married, and 5th edition is released, and I was lucky enough to have one of the flawed printings. There was this big controversy about the book binding. The whole batches of these were just falling apart. But you know what? I kind of like it. I like that I can remember that and look at this book in this state and just remember what a fiasco that launch was. But regardless of the binding, I have the rules exactly as they were when this released 10 years ago. Despite all of the updates and changes and Unearthed Arcana articles and updates, I'll always have the rules as they existed in 2014. Now, just this year, I just picked this up recently. The 5.5 edition, Player's Handbook, as I like to call it. And this is a beautiful book, and it's very different in a lot of ways from 5th edition. They've made a lot of updates. I haven't had a chance to really digest the whole book yet, but it's a wonderful piece of art here, this book. And I'll have it, no matter the D&D Beyond controversies, no matter what changes Wizards of the Coast makes, no matter what goes on there, this book is mine, and the rules as they exist right now are mine forever. And when you think about who I was when 3rd edition came out 24 years ago, and how formative it was to pick up that book and to still have that is very special. And there are people right now where maybe 5th edition was their first introduction to tabletop role-playing games, and they can have that forever, what this was to them. Or maybe this edition will be the one that they have, and this will be a time capsule for them. But if it's such a digital tool that is continually updated, modified over time to eventually not even resemble what it was before, you'll never have that time capsule back to your first tabletop role-playing game. And I think there's really something beautiful lost there. I'm very sentimental about this. Sentimentality aside, I think there's a real benefit to working analog when it comes to building your characters and learning the rules. When you have to write your character yourself, when you have to flip through your player's handbook, looking up each of the options and referencing the relevant rules, you're committing that structure not only of the book, but of the rules themselves into your brain. When you build a character in this way, you're actually reinforcing the components of that character in your memory, making it easier for you to remember which skills you're proficient in, which spells you chose, which feats you have and what they do, because you've written them out. And that's a well-documented note-taking strategy. To write them out helps commit them to memory. When you work with a digital character builder like D&D Beyond, it's going to aggregate everything for you. It's going to present the available options. It's going to provide all the rules references. And you end up losing that process. It doesn't really teach you the game. Building a character in a tabletop role-playing game is often educational. It's reinforcing the core mechanics and how characters work. D&D Beyond isn't going to help you do that. It's going to make it easier and faster. But easier and faster isn't always the way when it comes to tabletop games. I think the journey of learning the rules, of flipping through the book, is something very special and unique to this hobby. And when you let the computers do that for you, you've taken another piece away from what I think makes tabletop games so special. Okay, full disclosure, I use a tablet for a character sheet when I'm playing in a tabletop role-playing game. Okay, before you go into the comments and call me a hypocrite, bear with me. I use a tablet that has an image of a character sheet on it that I write on with my Apple Pencil. I treat it basically as a digital sheet of paper because when you've been playing tabletop games as long as I have, you print a lot of character sheets, and that is a lot of wasted ink and paper, and ink prices are crazy. And to be honest, my handwriting's not so neat these days as I age, and the ability to easily erase and notate is very nice on a digital page. It's saved a lot of paper, it saved a lot of lead for my pencils, because I have erased through a character sheet. I've had to rewrite and erase so much. If you've played a high-level druid in 5th edition, you know what I'm talking about. If you're tracking wild shape HP versus druid HP, and you keep going up and down straight through the page. So I've started using a tablet for that reason, saving paper and making it just a little easier to not wear through my pages and use pencils all the time. So maybe that's hypocritical, I'm not sure, but I think the important thing is that it's not connected to the internet, it's not a calculated character sheet. I still have to write it all in myself. And it doesn't show me pop-ups from Discord or YouTube comments while I'm on it. It is really just a digital piece of paper that saves the trees a little bit. I think there's a lot more to be said on this subject. Digital tools, tabletop games, how can they work together? How don't they work together? So let me know your feedback on that. What are your thoughts on this? And also let me know what your first tabletop role-playing game was. Was it an earlier edition of Dungeons & Dragons? Was it some other game? I love hearing about this. Let me know what cherished memory you associate with some old book in your collection, even if it was 5th edition or maybe 5.5 is the first one you're picking up. Let me know. I love hearing about it. And thank you all for your support so far. At the time of recording, we were over 400 subscribers. My mind is blown. The support has been amazing. Thank you all for your shared passion in tabletop role-playing games and your feedback and interest, not only in these design discussions, but in Tales from Elsewhere itself, the series of games we're building. It's been wonderful to hear from you and hear your criticisms, your construction, your feedback. So keep at it. I love it all so much. Thank you all. Hope to see you next time.